My wife said she needed a weekend to experience something different, but when she came back, she discovered that I had lived too, and with someone much better. She swore it would just be one weekend, that she needed it to find herself. I felt like a complete fool, but I decided not to just sit still. And when she returned, all she saw was the reflection of what she herself had destroyed. As for me, well, I was no longer alone. My name is Bill Miller, and at the time of these events, my wife, Lori, and I had been married for just over 20 years. We met in college and got married right after graduation. Our daughters, Kelly and Emily, were only a year apart. Kelly was a freshman in college, while Emily was a high school senior. About 6 weeks earlier, we had taken Kelly to her university, a big state school about 2 hours away. She was in a freshman dorm, sharing a room with a close friend. Emily still didn't know which college she'd attend the following year, but there was a good chance she would end up at the same school as her sister. They fought like sisters normally do, but always supported each other and were very close. Kelly leaving left an emotional void in our home, but we were happy for her and the new experiences she would have. I was a partner at a large accounting firm, and Lori worked as a supervisor at a regional building materials distributor. She had gone back to work when the girls started school and worked her way up, despite having a degree in literature. I made more money than she did, but we lived comfortably. We had a beautiful home, new cars, and other luxuries. Lori seemed to love her job. That Friday, I left the office early, at least an hour earlier than usual. I knew Emily would be at a school camp all weekend and wouldn't return until Sunday night. I smiled at the thought of having time alone with my wife, maybe a romantic dinner at our favorite Italian bistro, followed by a long overdue night of intimacy. Since taking Kelly to college, we had been somewhat disconnected, so I thought this weekend could reignite the spark in our marriage. When I pulled into the garage, I saw that Lori's car was already there. She must have left work early too. Maybe she had the same romantic idea I did, spending time together. I planned to suggest dinner at the bistro as the perfect start to our weekend. I didn't find her in the kitchen, so I headed to the bedroom to change and see if she was there. Maybe she had just gotten home. Walking toward our room, I called out, "Honey, I'm home!" "Are you in the bedroom?" "I'm here, Bill," she replied. When I entered, I saw Lori sitting at her vanity in the bathroom, which was always larger on her side. She was carefully applying makeup, focusing on her eyes. She wore the short black dress and the pearl necklace I had given her last Christmas. Her high heels were on the floor beside her. I also noticed her travel bag open on the bench, halfway packed with lingerie and casual clothes, some already folded and ready to go. "Wow, Lori, I don't remember us planning a weekend trip. I must be getting old. Where are we going?" "I'll get ready quickly." She took a deep breath and said, "Bill, I'm sorry, but I didn't tell you. I have a date this weekend. I didn't expect you home so early. I was going to talk to you when I left. I know you'll be angry and want to argue, but I really don't want to fight." "What? You're going away with another man? Are you insane?" "We never agreed to an open marriage. Tell me this is a joke, that you actually planned a surprise trip for us." That's when I realized she was clearly using the cheater's handbook of excuses and justifications. "Sweetheart, it's just one weekend. On Sunday, I'll be back and everything will go back to normal. Since Kelly left for college, I've felt so down. I really need this time. It's just one weekend among the thousands we've spent together. You'll see. In the end, this will be good for us. It will make our marriage stronger." "How long have you been cheating, Lori? Who is the guy inviting you on a romantic weekend? Are you leaving me for him?" "No, silly. I love only you. His name doesn't matter, so I won't tell you. An Uber will pick me up and bring me back. You won't even see him. We've had lunch a few times, but I haven't cheated with him, and I won't leave you for him. I knew this would hurt you, so I didn't want to hide it behind your back. I probably won't even see him again after this. It's just something I need to do." "Bill, this man thinks I'm attractive. He says I'm beautiful and desirable, even though I'm almost 10 years older than him. I'm not getting any younger, so I need this to feel better about myself. Younger, alive again. Don't you understand? I was hoping you'd give me a weekend hall pass in our marriage. On Sunday, I'll come back and try harder to be the most devoted wife you've ever known. Once I get this out of my system, I don't plan on doing it again. Besides, the man I'll spend the weekend with is also married with small children. He told me himself he won't leave his family, so you don't have to worry about me leaving you for him. It's just intimacy, Bill. Just one weekend out of the thousands we've had together. I want you to be understanding, to give me this pass without anger or resentment. Are you out of your mind? I asked. I'm sorry, but I've already made my decision, Bill. I'm going to do this. If you don't let your male ego get in the way, you'll see it's not the end of the world. It doesn't even need to affect us or our marriage. Can't you just give me this weekend, Bill, please? I just stood there staring at my wife, completely stunned. Who had kidnapped Lori and replaced her with this crazy woman? My mouth was open, but my brain couldn't form words to respond. Then, from the back of my mind, a thought surfaced. Something that could turn this disaster in my favor. A smirk formed at the corner of my lips. So you're determined to spend the weekend with another man. No matter what, huh? You don't need to be so harsh or dramatic, Bill. There don't need to be consequences. She even made air quotes. Unless you want there to be. But to answer your question, yes. I've decided I need this weekend away. Trust me, it won't harm us at all. On Sunday, I'll be exactly the same person I am now. All right, it seems you're determined. I bet it was him who filled your head with this nonsense that a weekend fling has no consequences. But let me tell you now, he's wrong. He's only saying that to get you into bed. I'll give you until your Uber arrives to change your mind. After that, I'll plan my own weekend without you. One more thing. If you do go, I promise I won't follow you or do anything crazy, but you promise to keep your phone on so I can locate you if necessary. You don't want me finding out from the police that he was some lunatic. It's just for my peace of mind. Can you do that? She looked at me for a few seconds, analyzing my face. Fine. I'll leave the phone on so you can track me, as long as you promise not to follow or ruin my weekend. Deal. But Lori, you can still change your mind. We can still fix this if we try. A friend at work recommended a great therapist who helped save his marriage. Call this guy and tell him you changed your mind and I'll set up a session for us. Bill, we don't need therapy. I just need one weekend for myself. Now let me finish getting ready. On my way home, I bought you a gourmet meal. It's in the fridge. Just pop it in the microwave. I'm meeting him at 7, so I need to hurry. She turned back to the mirror and resumed applying makeup. I thought about going to the living room to make a call, but then I thought, you know what? If she can have her weekend, I can turn this game around too. And honestly, I don't care what she thinks. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my contacts until I found the right name, and called. I knew Lori would hear only my side of the conversation. Hi, Sarah. It's me, Bill. Wow, Bill, it's been a while. How are you? It was great to hear Sarah's voice again. I took a deep breath, remembering our history. We both worked at the same accounting firm, but we weren't close and didn't socialize much. 10 years ago, shortly after she joined the firm, she was assigned as my administrative assistant. At the time, I was a senior accountant, not yet a partner. She was an incredible assistant and a key part of why I became a partner a few years later. She and her husband, John, were about 5 years younger than Lori and me. He was a rising executive, and they decided to have kids later once his career was more established. They had only one small child at the time. Then, about 5 years ago, tragedy struck. John was driving home after a day of meetings about a merger his company was planning. A commercial truck ran a red light and destroyed John's car, killing him almost instantly. In the months that followed, I stood by Sarah and her son, Jacob. They were, of course, devastated. I helped her find a great attorney who sued the trucking company and discovered the driver had been drunk. In the end, Sarah received a multi-million-dollar settlement for gross negligence. While I supported Sarah, we realized we had a powerful mutual attraction we had never noticed while working together. You could say we found each other as soulmates. Neither of us had ever felt something so intense for another person. But after we talked about our feelings, we were both sad to realize we couldn't act on them. I was a married man who took my vows seriously, and Sarah respected my marriage too much to interfere. We decided together to end our relationship, both at work and outside of it, before our feelings evolved into something emotional or physical that we would regret. We went our separate ways as friends and with a clear conscience, knowing we had never crossed any lines. Even though she was financially secure from the settlement, Sarah decided to keep working at the firm as an administrative assistant. But she supported another accountant on a different floor to reduce the chances of running into me. She liked the people at the firm, the intellectual challenges, and the professional environment. Plus, after John's tragic death and Jacob's fragile emotional state, she didn't want any more big life changes. When we said goodbye, she smiled and said I should call her if my marital status ever changed. I promised I would, but I honestly never imagined Lori would betray me for the sake of a fun weekend. Yet that's exactly what happened. My wife just informed me we now have an open marriage and that she's spending the weekend with another man. Damn, Bill. You're joking, right? Sarah said. I can't believe she'd do that to you. I thought you two had a solid marriage. I wish it were a joke. I thought so too. Right now, I'm standing here watching her get ready for her date. Maybe she's at least honest enough to confirm her plans. I'll put the phone on speaker so you can hear. I turned the phone toward Lori. Lori, would you please confirm that you're going to spend the weekend being intimate with another man? I spoke loudly enough for Sarah to hear. Lori knew that Sarah had been my assistant years ago. We had gone together to John's funeral, and Lori had even made some dishes we brought to Sarah as support back then. She knew I had helped Sarah and Jacob after John's death, and that I had recommended a great attorney. She also knew that Sarah and I hadn't worked together in years, and that Sarah now worked in another department. I hadn't mentioned Sarah for a long time, since we'd ended any professional or personal involvement before anything happened. I'm not doing that, Lori snapped, furious. We don't have an open marriage. It's just one weekend. Why do you have to ruin everything? Maybe I won't even come back on Sunday since you're being so ridiculous. She grabbed her phone, and I saw she called an Uber. I'll wait outside. Try not to act like a child when I get back. She closed her suitcase and left the bedroom toward the front door. I brought the phone back to my ear. Did you hear that? I did, Sarah said. I just can't believe she's doing this to you. She's having an affair. Do you know who the guy is? No, I have no idea who the bastard is. She wouldn't tell me his name, only that he's also married with small kids. She swears it's not an affair and that it's only this one weekend. But honestly, I can't trust anything she says now. My God, Bill, I'm in shock. Did you call just to tell me what's happening? Or is there something I can do for you? Actually, I remembered the promise I made when we said goodbye, that I'd call you if my marital status changed. So here I am, keeping my promise. I simply can't stay married to Lori after this. Seriously? I'm flattered, Bill. Jacob is spending the weekend at John's parents' house. And I actually had a date tonight. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. I was so wrapped up in my own problems that it didn't occur to me that an attractive woman like you would probably have plans for the weekend. I didn't even know you were in a relationship. I'm happy for you, Sarah. I'll let you go. No, Bill, you've got it wrong. I was in a relationship for about a year, but it ended a few months ago. He wanted to get married, but I ended it because I didn't feel that spark. I didn't want to tie myself down just to avoid being alone. Tonight's date was set up by my sister. I'll tell him a very close friend just got terrible news and I need to cancel to help out. That's almost true. I just won't say that the friend is a man I used to dream about as I fell asleep at night. Wow. Really? Now I'm the one who's flattered. You'd cancel your date to spend time with me? Absolutely. Without thinking twice, Jacob and I used part of the settlement money and bought a new house about 2 years ago. The schools are much better here. I'll text you my new address when we hang up. If you're still at the same place, I'm only about 15 minutes away now. I confirmed we hadn't moved and agreed to pick her up in an hour. We went to the same Italian bistro where I had originally planned to take Lori. Our connection, far from having faded over time, seemed even stronger. We spent that night and most of the weekend in her bed. The emotional connection was intense, and the physical one was absolutely extraordinary. On Sunday morning, lying in bed, we talked about what Lori had done over the weekend. I confirmed that I couldn't remain married to her, whether or not Sarah and I had a future together. Sarah smiled, a smile so bright it seemed to light up the whole room. Well, sir, I really think we have an amazing future ahead of us. I'd love to explore a relationship with you, and I'm sure Jacob will be happy to have you back in his life. We made love once more as a way to celebrate this new life with no set path but full of possibilities. After that, I went home to wait for Lori's return. While waiting, I called Kelly at school and told her I was going to divorce her mother, explaining that Lori had left me to spend the weekend with another man. She was understandably upset. I asked her not to call her mother or her sister until I had a chance to speak with them in person. Later, I planned to talk to Emily when she returned from the school trip. Late in the afternoon, I was sitting in the living room when the Uber driver dropped Lori off around 2 o'clock. She came in excited, pulling her rolling suitcase with a huge smile on her face. At least she didn't look like a woman who had spent the weekend with another man, but appearances deceive. "Hi, honey. I knew you'd be here waiting for me. See? Nothing's changed. I'm still the same wife who left on Friday night. I knew you loved me enough to give me a free weekend. Now I'm going to make it up to you, and you'll be the happiest husband in the world. I've heard that winning your wife back can be pretty fun. If you want, I can put on something special, and you can do whatever you want with me before Emily gets back." My phone was propped on the table, recording the conversation on video. She hadn't noticed yet. I figured it would be good to have a recording in case I needed to show our kids or other family members if she tried to twist the story and paint me as the villain. "Lori, I know how much you hate using protection, and I've had a vasectomy. So don't lie by saying Richard used protection during your weekend with him. You might trust your health to him, but I definitely won't." She had the decency to look at the floor, realizing the conversation wasn't going the way her sleazebag boyfriend had promised. Suddenly, she lifted her head in shock. "How do you know his name? You promised you wouldn't follow me or interfere with my weekend." "I didn't follow you. I hired a private investigator to do that. All I needed was your location. Thanks, by the way, for keeping your phone on. He was only able to start surveillance on Saturday since you told me your plans on Friday night. I had to pay double for the rush job, but it was worth it. If only for seeing Richard's wife's reaction when she found out what her hubby did over the weekend." "Did you know her father owns the company where you both work? Looks like Richard's career will grind to a halt on Monday, and your day at the office will be interesting too. But I asked them not to fire you, at least for now." Lori sank onto the couch across from my chair and slumped. "I can't believe you did this to me," she complained. "We're even," I replied dryly. "He told you this weekend would reignite what was missing in our marriage?" She nodded, head in her hands, staring at the floor. "That's what happens when you listen to your boyfriend instead of your husband. The spark you two created ended up blowing up 2 marriages." No, she whimpered. "I don't want a divorce. I told you this weekend was a one-off, something that will never happen again. Richard and I aren't having an affair. I felt down since Kelly left for college. I thought this would make me feel better about myself and be a better wife to you. I did this for us. Can't we try something? Maybe couples therapy? You said your friend found a good therapist," she said, lifting her head and looking at me with a glimmer of hope. I almost felt bad about what I was about to do. When I was young, my father taught me that when you take an action against someone, you usually can't control their reaction. I begged you not to go, and you called me immature and went anyway. I've never felt so betrayed and disrespected in my life. If you had backed out when I asked, we could have tried therapy and maybe repaired our marriage, understood why you thought you needed this adventure. Believe me, Lori, I felt down since Kelly left too. But unlike you, I didn't plan to spend a weekend with another woman and spring it on you at the last minute like you did to me. The moment you got in that Uber to go to the resort with Richard, our marriage ended. You just haven't realized it yet." Lori started crying and collapsed onto the floor. She crawled to my chair and hugged my legs. "Please, Bill, don't leave me." I was an idiot. I let Richard fill my head with lies. The intimacy with him was, at best, mediocre. He's nothing compared to you. Please, we can save our marriage and be even better than before. Please don't go. I picked up my phone from the table and stopped the recording. "Lori, I have a confession to make." She lifted her face from my legs and looked at me. "What did you do? Did you see Sarah after I left?" "It's okay, Bill," she said quickly. "We both took a weekend off from the marriage. That makes us even, right?" "Yes. I spent the weekend with Sarah, but it's more complicated than that." "What do you mean?" I explained how Sarah and I had grown close and felt a strong connection after John's death, even though we had never crossed any emotional or physical lines. We had barely spoken in the last 5 years. We pulled away when we realized we were heading down a dangerous path for my marriage. I was happy and respected my vows. Sarah respected our marriage too. Too much to do anything that would hurt us. But she had told me I could call her if my marital status ever changed. That's why I called her. So you basically threw our marriage away and ignored all my pleas to give up this insane weekend. In the end, Sarah respected our marriage more than you did. My God, what have I done? Lori lamented, squeezing my legs and burying her face in them again. I can't believe this is happening to me. Yeah, me neither. When Sarah and I met this weekend, we discovered the connection between us is even stronger than before. We're soulmates. I felt Lori shudder, her face still pressed against my legs. Sarah and I never would have gotten together. Maybe we wouldn't even have spoken again if you hadn't betrayed me this weekend. But you gave us that chance and now neither of us wants to be apart. I'm filing for divorce next week. Given the circumstances, I'll file for irreconcilable differences, even though I could file for adultery. I promise to be fair in the settlement and not leave you destitute. And to preserve the good memories we had, I told Kelly that you spent the weekend with another man. It's only fair we tell Emily the same. I'll also tell them I'm with Sarah, but I'll make it clear that was a consequence of your betrayal. If you don't try to paint me as the villain, I guarantee the PI's report and photos won't leave my phone. It seemed Lori understood that fighting to keep me in the marriage was pointless. We spoke with Emily later when she returned from her trip. She was upset and asked if there was any chance of trying therapy. Without going into details, she understood her mother had messed up badly. She also learned I had reconnected with Sarah and that we were starting something together. She quickly realized couples therapy was no longer on the table. I slept in the guest room for a few nights to make sure Emily was okay, and then moved to an extended stay hotel, splitting my time between Sarah and Lori. Later that week, I presented Lori with a draft of a fair divorce settlement. Even though the settlement money from John's death was in a trust for Sarah and Jacob, I knew I could leave the house to Lori and guarantee a good amount of spousal and child support without hurting her financial stability. She never tried to paint me as the villain or claim I was at fault for the divorce. She would sometimes tell people that we simply grew apart over time. Some knew that was nonsense. As a last resort, she admitted she had screwed up badly and that I had every right to leave. Sarah and I got married shortly after the divorce was finalized. It was a small but beautiful ceremony, and my bride was stunning. We invited only close family and friends. I was happy that both Kelly and Emily attended and seemed genuinely happy for us. I think they realized that after what their mother had done, there was no way I could stay married to her, and all they wanted was to see me happy. Sarah was in her 30s, but she convinced me that my days of being a father weren't over. I had my vasectomy reversed, and we had 2 wonderful, healthy children. First came John, named in honor of her late husband, though we call him Jack. A year later came our little girl, Jacqueline, named after my mother. We call her Jackie. Jacob and I developed a strong father-son relationship. Looking back, he really needed a father figure in his life. I hope John is somewhere up above, watching over Sarah and Jacob, and that he's at peace knowing they found real happiness. Today, nearly 10 years have passed since that fateful weekend. Sarah and I are as happy as 2 people can be, and we just attended Kelly's wedding to her longtime boyfriend, Tom. Jackie was the flower girl, and Jack did an excellent job as the ring bearer. Jacob is now in high school and has grown into a handsome, athletic young man. He attended the wedding with his girlfriend, a very pretty girl. I hadn't seen Lori in more than 6 years. She seemed fine, but she didn't compare to Sarah. I think having 2 more kids really made Sarah blossom. Lori eventually remarried a man named Steven, whom she met at work. I met Steven at the rehearsal dinner, and he seemed like a good guy. We had a moment alone to talk, and he mentioned that Lori had told him what happened between us and had taken the blame for the divorce, something I confirmed with a small nod. I assured him that whatever went through Lori's head back then was long in the past, and that overall, she had been a good wife and partner. He agreed right away. I heard Lori had been on thin ice at work for a while but was never fired. She got stuck with some lousy assignments for a time, but she later proved her loyalty and hard work, eventually being promoted to regional manager. Ironically, the same position Richard held before being fired. Sarah and I mingled with the guests during the reception after the ceremony. We ate, danced, and had a great time. Kelly and Tom were leaving for Hawaii the next morning for their honeymoon, a gift from us. along with a generous check to help with the down payment on the house they wanted to buy. Toward the end of the night, I saw Lori approach Sarah for a quick conversation. Then she came to me and asked if we could dance once. She said Sarah had told her it was fine. I looked at Sarah and she nodded. I took Lori in my arms and we danced to the slow music playing. For a moment, it almost felt like old times. Neither of us spoke until the end of the song, when she stopped and looked at me. Bill, I'm sorry for what I did to us all those years ago. I'm happy I found Steven, but I never stopped loving you. Seeing you so happy with Sarah makes me happy for you, but it also hurts, thinking of what could have been. Lori, for what it's worth, I forgive you and wish you and Steven all the happiness in the world. I spoke with him earlier. He really is a good man. He and I share something in common. We both loved you. And you're right, Sarah and I are incredibly happy, and in a strange way, we have you to thank for bringing us together. Please forgive yourself and love Steven and your new family with all that you have. With that, I kissed Lori on the forehead, took her hand, and led her back to our table, where Steven and Sarah waited quietly, watching the last dance of two old lovers. I saw the beautiful smile on Sarah's face and thanked God for bringing her back into my life, even in such an unexpected way. Reddit observer comment, and in the end, it seems fate decided to give everyone a second chance. Lori even managed to rebuild her life, but Bill truly blossomed, found love, had more children, helped raise his best friend's son, and still had the grace to dance with his ex and wish her well. Now, whether that's redemption or just a perfect story, I'll leave for you to decide. Tell me in the comments, was this a fair ending or does something still not add up? If you enjoyed this story, you know what to do. Hit the like button, share it with someone who'll love this plot, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next chapters. Oh, and there are 2 other stories full of twists waiting for you right here on the screen. See you in the next one.